For me, it got to a point where I realized tolerance for starters. And yes, I was in pain and I needed the opioids, but I couldn't find relief from just the amount of opioid injection that previously could give me relief.
So, welcome back to Beyond Conditions, and I'm here with one and only Trish Baraza. Trish,
Hello, everyone, and glad to have you back. I'm Trish Barasa.
I mean, how does it feel for you to just talk about something that we're so passionate about, which is the opioid issue?
For me, the opioids issue really just touches me at the core of my heart, if there's any such thing. And especially because I know how helpless an opioid user becomes once it takes over you physiologically, that is, physically and psychologically.
Yeah, so let's talk about medications.
Mhm.
I mean, what medications are available, and what are the trends? What should anybody who is in this space look out for?
Okay, so the medications that we have seen, which are evidence based and they work for helping people through an opioids crisis, and I'm really talking about the withdrawal phase and even sustaining sobriety, include methadone, and we have what we call methadone clinics. I'm made to understand we even have some in Kenya already, Kiambu and Malindi, down at the coast. And we also have naloxone, and then we also have a drug called buprenorphine. Now, these are, especially for buprenorphine and naloxone, these are drugs that bind. I don't want to get into the technical aspect, but they bind into the receptors of the brain, because what opioids do is it literally changes your makeup all the way up to your brain, the pathways. So these drugs release those receptors. And once they do that, you're able to operate normally. So they give you this medication, and it can actually be like a detoxification where you're flushed out and then now you're free to now go through the rest of the programs. Or they can give it to you in a way, like slow doses, and your body will slowly be able to release off the previous addiction of opioids.
Yeah, so you're saying you're like in some small cell, like in prison, and this is like a release for somebody.
Actually, yes, opioids imprison people, and people who have opioid use disorder are prisoners and they need support.
In the support, I think the major concern is usually relapse. How do you really prevent relapse?
Prevention of relapse is targeted in different ways, and one of the main ways is um, cutting off the access to these drugs. And maybe the person was getting them through somebody or through some peers. They need to break that off. The second way you can do this is to slowly ease them out of withdrawal. Many people struggle through withdrawal. And when they realize that all I need to do is inject myself an opioid and I'm back to normal, they would rather actually inject themselves again than get out of opioids. So withdrawal can really be nasty. It actually feels like a death sentence. Although, yeah, it's been said before that actually withdrawal from an opioid is not as bad as withdrawal from alcohol. You know, the alcohol one can kill you, and benzodiazepines. The opioid one will not kill you, but it is extremely nasty. And that's what makes many people to relapse. The other way to support someone so that they don't relapse is to address the triggers. Yes, if I know that maybe I have family dynamics which push me to the edge, my parents are fighting, my sisters are fighting, all these issues, those need to be addressed. And that is why sometimes you will require to know someone's family dynamics to support them through an opioid withdrawal so that they don't relapse. And then, of course, the other thing, and that is especially for people like myself who have pain as the reason why they found themselves in using opioids in the first place and being addicted, is to address the pain, perhaps by introducing alternative medications to be able to relieve their pain. Otherwise, why would I be in pain if there is something that can address my pain? I will relapse.
At what point do we say we give up with you? I mean, how many relapses? At what point do we say this person cannot be helped because maybe you've taken you in for peer support, you've taken you seen a therapist, you've gone through all this medication, but you always relapse. You come, and it's become I mean, everybody's saying let's take them back, but we know it's like they already know. Let's see how long it will take for you to relapse, and we have these situations. When do we give up?
I would never give up. There is no point when you give up on someone. You keep trying. You can only give up on the one who has died. Yeah.
And you just keep going.
You keep going.
Did people give up on you?
No. No one gave up on me, and I'm not about to give up on anyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. I mean, if you are in a situation whereby you're saying that you keep going, okay, all the time, does the person who is addicted or having the struggle, do they know that people are giving up on them? Do they know that it's time to stop, or is something that maybe a misunderstanding that people don't understand them?
I have heard a story about this guy who had been to rehab and back countless times, and he has relapsed. He had relapsed over and over again. And I'm told that this guy one day just woke up and decided, I'm going to stop. And he stopped. So there's actually an unstudied issue that there is something that eventually gets into you and tells you to stop. I don't know the science behind it, but I'm made to understand that at some point, even that person who doesn't stop eventually stops. And perhaps only just to add that relapse is part of recovery. So when you relapse, I would tell you it is not the end. You can still get up and try again.
Oh, that's a good place to be. Let's discuss triggers. I mean, what are the common triggers for relapse in individuals, especially those that are recovering from opioids?
Okay, so I'd say the main thing is first to address the underlying issue. And there's always either an environmental issue, a psychosocial issue, sometimes economics and all that. And if you don't address that, or a pain that someone has been living with, if you don't address that, someone will definitely relapse. Secondly, withdrawal is nasty. I've said it before. And if you can help someone through a withdrawal process to make it less nasty in a more comfortable way, they will actually desire to withdraw. They will work with you through a withdrawal. But for as long as a withdrawal is nasty, so many will give up and relapse. Thirdly, I would say those factors, the environmental factors I was talking about, if someone has access, if someone has maybe a friend who is giving them drugs, this person is actually they're in a dilemma. They're wanting to stop, but they're struggling with what the environment around them is doing to them. They're not supportive. They will relapse. I would also say if you're surrounded by a support system, a supportive family, supportive friends, peers, you're likely to sustain the recovery process than someone who is not surrounded by that. If you get motivational interview, it's not judgmental, it's non-judgmental. It is coming from you as opposed to coming from somebody else. You have only been helped to process the conflicting emotions. You're likely to sustain the recovery. There are many other ways, but also, if though this one is a little different, if you see to it that you're actually supported in a community to engage yourself maybe in physical activities and in other activities, which, because we know that physical exercises will induce endorphins inside you, and this will help to stabilize your moods, because use of opioids like affects your mood regulation. So these things will help you to be able to induce the change within you and occupy your time and all that, so that you don't have so much time to go into the negative thinking. You don't have to think of withdrawal in such a negative way. You actually go through it in a better way.
Maybe as we rush towards a close, because time is really not on our side, let's talk about family therapy. What is a place for family therapy in opioid recovery, and how does that come into play?
The biggest thing that a family brings onto the table for somebody who is struggling with opioid use is compassion. I'd say that is the biggest thing. Everything else is around the issue of compassion. And for these other things, I would say you will provide a supportive environment. You will understand what opioid use disorder means. Because you have that compassion within you, you will go and get educated. You will be educated around the triggers. You will be educated around opioid withdrawal. You will be educated around relapses. You will understand what a relapse means. You will understand that a relapse is not the end. So I'd say it starts and ends with compassion, and everything else comes after compassion. And that's what a family can actually bring on board as the biggest contribution to the opioid withdrawal and recovery process.
Compassion is big, and so you had it. You have been watching Beyond Conditions. In our next episode, we'll look at life, beyond opioid use. Look at the real issues around relapse, and also probably bring on board some guests that will be able to shed more light into these issues. Until next time, my name is Paul Wafula.
And my name is Trish Barasa, and I'm very excited to go through this opioid crisis, healing from opioids beyond addiction episode. Thank you.